Who's got the FOMO this morning? I don't know. Not 180,000 of you for sure. Good morning, everybody. Paul Ihander with you. Max Goren is back as well on this first Monday of summer. Yes, indeed. Summer yesterday, Father's Day yesterday. Belated Father's Day to those of you who celebrate. And that's where we're kind of going to start. This past weekend, all of you and your closest friends packed the streets as early as 5 o'clock in the morning Saturday to see your favorite hockey team parade through the streets, along with other dignitaries and people on foot, and Max Goren signing autographs. How many autographs did you sign in that parade, Max?
No autographs.
None?
Just probably, I probably sounded the siren 7 times, 8
there you
times.
Go.
Including one time on the stage, I snuck a quick one, and I actually pinched my thumb on it. But, it's it's no big deal. No big deal.
No big deal. Except the parade was a big deal for a lot of folks. And it was very clear from the get-go, from people sitting up and setting up chairs several hours before the expletive-filled speeches rang out. And for those of you who listened and watch, apologies. There are certain things that we have to protect, and those of you who are listening to us, our parade coverage, once the speeches got started and you heard some dead air, so to speak, we have no matter what side of the government party lines you fall upon, we are still regulated by the federal government, and they require us to keep it relatively clean, so to speak. So for those of you in attendance and live there, you got to hear it fully uncensored, which meant you had a really great time. And it's very clear that the players and the coaches had a really great time, too, downtown. And it was interesting to see and hear a lot of the things. I was not aware of people coming up to Nikolai Ehlers in grocery stores asking him to not leave. Like they were unaware that he was on a multi-year contract. And so he went full Wolf of Wall Street and says he's not going anywhere, which makes a lot of sense. And I think that had to do with the really kind words that he said about leaving Winnipeg following the Stanley Cup. Like he really loved Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Like it was home to him for a decade. And he really, he misses it. And he should. He left a lot of friends there, a lot of teammates, still there he played with for a very long time. Got to know the city, probably had his favorite, coffee houses and steak places and, whatever he eats. And now that he comes here in year one, wins the Stanley Cup. And so for him to address that was good. Admittedly, the Nick Delorier thing was interesting. We have that audio, which Eric Tulsky, by the way, absolutely underrated sense of humor. Like, I think it went over the crowd's head at times where they were like, were we supposed to laugh at that? Because that was really funny, but it was almost like too smart for the room kind of thing, the things that he was saying out there. And picking it up later and listening to it about, how other GMs, question the fact that he walked through, parking lots and tailgates and walked through the concourses and said how, man, people hate us. And he goes, I don't understand that at all. People love me. Like, it was like so quick and so dry and over the head of folks. It was like, yeah, we want to cheer him, but we're not sure we were supposed to. But there were only a couple of people who knew this moment was going to happen. Nick Delorier, who was an unrestricted free agent following this Kane season, traded to Carolina because Philadelphia was kind enough to loan him to Carolina, will end up staying a couple of more years. Here's how it sounded on stage.
2 more years!
Eric Tulsky pulled out a contract. Nick Delorier signed it. This was if you've ever watched professional wrestling, when they have a contract signing between the heel and the face, like the good guy and the bad guy, this was that kind of a contract. It was like, here, we're going to open this thing up. There's going to be a piece of paper, and you're going to sign a piece of paper that looks like a contract but isn't exactly the one that we're going to send to the league.
Yeah, that actual contract was signed inside in an office, probably before the first, however many drinks were consumed on Saturday morning and into the early afternoon. But they did a good job of kind of keeping that quiet until the parade, just so they could have that moment up on the stage, which was really cool. Like you said, like Eric Tulsky has an underrated sense of humor, and he knows how to play to the crowd. And I don't know if that's always been the case or if that's something that he's kind of developed over his short time since taking over as the general manager of this team. But I mean, man, he really does know how to play to this fan
absolutely.
base and to play to the crowd. And everybody it was just so much general merriment and joy out there in the crowd on Saturday. I mean, it was an unbelievable scene to see all those people out there. And credit to everybody who planned and put that thing together, too, because it seemingly kind of went off without a hitch, despite being the biggest event in the history of downtown Raleigh. 180,000, I think you said, was the crowd estimate.
Yep.
And it seemed like it went pretty smoothly. Everybody was kind of able to get into a spot. I didn't really sense any issues with traffic or anything like that. Granted,
okay.
I parked
You were there at what time?
I was there at 9:30
Yeah.
around the parade start. I had parked about a mile away,
Yeah,
closer to campus by the bell tower.
Traffic issues.
And then I now what that resulted in is after the rally was over at City Plaza, I had to walk 2 miles back to the car. But that it could have been a lot worse. It really wasn't bad. And
perfect day.
Got a nap in and got to enjoy celebrating a little bit more on Saturday evening.
Perfect day. It was a good time. Good times were had by all. The cup had its moments. Jordan Martinook clearly, I've never seen if Sebastian Aho and the Finnish crew haven't taken them all out for a sauna this morning to sweat it all off from this past week. That is Sebastian Aho not being a good Finn. And I'm half Finnish, so I'm just saying they should be somewhere sweating out what they had. And Seth Jarvis had his thing yesterday at Dixon Carey. Eric Tulsky was at UNC hospital yesterday with the Stanley Cup. And the Cup's been making its rounds. There's no doubt about it. The players have been making their rounds. They've been popping in and popping out in places. And that will calm down fairly soon as the guys start heading out of town and having their days with the Cup. Because right now, as it stands, and we won't have the NHL schedule in front of us at this point, but it's coming here in the next few weeks. Right now, as it stands, the regular season is roughly 3 months away. Like, we're talking 90 days. They'll be back on the ice, skating in preseason games, maybe even regular season games close to that. There's not much of a summer here when it comes to the Hurricanes, so expect to see, while the majority of it probably will not be here in the Triangle, and certainly not in the state of North Carolina, they're giving the Cup quite a bit of run here locally. It will start popping up in various far-off locations here over the summer. I believe Freddie Anderson said he wanted to take it to Legoland. Like, that wasn't even tongue-in-cheek. He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to Legoland with this thing. There are some Finnish stops, obviously some Canadian stops as well, and a handful here in the United States. I can only imagine the homecomings that will come with some of these players, especially those from smaller towns in Western Canada for sure. So lots for the Canes to dig into. That's Max. I'm Paul. Next up here on 99.9 The Fan. Good time had this weekend. Yesterday, Father's Day. It was a great Father's Day for Keith Tkachuk. The Florida Panthers made a deal with the Ottawa Senators that apparently the Carolina Hurricanes could have been part of this as well. The reports were that Brady Tkachuk, Ottawa Senator, no longer Ottawa Senator, now Florida Panther, and will now pair up with his brother Matthew Tkachuk, had a 4-team list that he was willing to join. Brady had a no-trade clause, 2 years on a contract, and a no-trade clause in play. He had 4 teams: Florida, Minnesota, Vegas, and the Carolina Hurricanes. I can only imagine what that deal would have been like if Eric Tulsky hadn't been, dealing with the parade, but clearly had to go right back to work upon taking a phone call. Maybe that's why he was a little bit dry going, I'll take a look at what we've got here. I mean, I have a feeling he went full Pawn Stars on Ottawa and just kind of went, hey, listen, I've got a pick in the first round. That might be it. I think I've got a guy in the farm system you have. I might be able to part with Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yeah. So the best I can do is Kotkaniemi, Artemanov, and a third-round pick. And
right.
Ottawa was like, we're good.
Yeah, and so Ottawa didn't take back any players, but they took back what they hope will be their future, although it's kind of weird, for the fan base in Ottawa who, we saw in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we swept them, obviously, but we saw that fan base, and they were jazzed. They were fully amped up to be in the postseason and kind of ahead of schedule for the Ottawa Senators. And then now when you trade away one of your better players, a guy that they asked to do a lot of, and he won't be asked as much in Florida because his brother Matty is better than he is, And he's got Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand, and the list goes on and on. But Florida now sending 4 draft choices to Ottawa. And Emily Kaplan explained just kind of why Brady Tkachuk kind of pushed his way out of a Senators uniform.
Over the season, it became pretty clear to Ottawa that Brady Tkachuk wanted a change of scenery, and he did not intend to re-sign with them next summer when he was eligible for an extension. So they engaged with a small handful of teams, all in American markets, but Brady Tkachuk had full control here with a full no movement clause. So he got to dictate in the end where he wanted to go, and it was very clear his preference was Florida. As you said, it is a divisional rival, but this is his brother. It makes sense of why he would want to go there. Now, from Florida's perspective, they view their window as wide open. After 1 year of missing the playoffs, they're going to come back with a vengeance, especially with Alexander Barkov now healthy. And their GM, Bill Zito, a lot of people around the league thought he was crazy for the haul he gave up for Matthew Tkachuk back in 2022. Well, that landed them 2 Stanley Cups and now Matthew's brother, Brady. So maybe it wasn't so crazy after all.
Bill Zito, as a general manager, thinks the same way I do when it comes to draft choices. They are expendable. They're expendable when you believe you're in a championship window. It doesn't matter if it's number 3. It doesn't matter if it's number 20, or like the Carolina Hurricanes later this week will have number 31. 31 in the draft. And it wouldn't surprise me that they trade out of that one and parlay that into a couple more late-round picks just to stock up the farm a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the farm's getting a little bit older than it should be.
Oh, yeah. For Ottawa here, like, I think it's a good bit of business for them to not only get 3 first-round picks and a second for a guy that I think kind of pretty openly didn't really want to be there anymore, but especially to get 1 pick that's in the top 10 of this year's draft, which is seen as a pretty decently deep draft. I think that's a good return in terms of the pick. Now, would they probably have liked to get a roster player back? Allegedly, they were asking about Anton Lundell from Florida, who the Panthers did not want to give up. They probably would have liked to get somebody NHL ready back in that deal, because this just pushes back the timeline in which they could theoretically be like a contender and really competitive. But I think it's still a decent return in terms of their way they're set up. Like, all their money is kind of tied up in their centers, and it's good that they kept Tim Stützle, because maybe those that don't pay as close attention would think, oh, they just traded their best player in Brady Tkachuk. I would disagree with that. I think Tim Stützle is their best player. He's a little bit younger. He has a much higher ceiling in terms of skill. I think he's already had like a 90-something or 100-something point season with them. So to keep him around is good. Him and Drake Batherson are kind of mainstays on that top line for them. They've got some really young, talented defensemen in terms of Jake Sanderson. Jordan Spence has turned out to be a little bit of a bright spot for them. He's an RFA this year. But they're not going to be immediately contending for anything in the East. So they're going to have to hit on these draft picks. And now they also have a lot of cap space. They have $25 million in cap space right now.
In a light year,
and
too.
the rumor, the conversation online is, you look at that space they just opened up, and they need to pick up another winger. They could be a team that maybe tries to go after Jason Robertson in Dallas, because they have some cap issues over there. Pavel Dorofeyev is a restricted free agent in Vegas, and there's been some rumor that offer sheets are going to maybe be a little bit more popular this offseason. So it's a couple moves they can make to try to bolster, but in terms of the Eastern Conference now, it's going to be Carolina and Florida. And that's not too different than what it already would have been, but Florida now will come in healthy. Barkov will have had a year to rehab his injury. Now, obviously, they have both Tkachuk brothers. That's going to be a greasy line, by the way, with Matthew and Brady Tkachuk centered by Sam Bennett. That is going to be a line that's toeing the line of what's allowed and what's not in terms of physicality and kind of I don't want to say dirty play, but definitely some there'll be some questionable hits thrown out by those guys. It's going to be a force to be reckoned with for Carolina. So it's honestly good that they extend Delorier, keep him around to have that presence, but you wonder if maybe they try to beef up in terms of the forward core with another move this offseason, just to try to keep up with that physicality, because we know how physical this Florida team gets, especially in the playoffs. And we're going to see if they feel the need to counter that or not.
Florida's going to have to make some moves. It's pretty clear. With only $7 million left to work with, they have to sign a goalie. They don't have one of those. Matter of fact, they don't have any goalies right now. And they could use a couple more forwards. So they are strapped There's no doubt about it. They'll make it work somehow. Someone will get buried on some LTIR for a bit, and it's just how it works. But yeah, Florida's gearing up once again to go after Carolina, and Carolina, we're going to have to gear up to go against Florida. But it felt like they had that team this year, and we'll see how it works out in the following year. But that's a family reunion.
Oh yeah,
that is a Father's Day present for Keith Tkachuk.
You see,
won't have to go back to Canada anymore.
You say they don't have a goaltender. I mean, did they happen to put a Stanley Cup winning goaltender on waivers like 10 months ago? Is that something that happened?
They did. They did indeed. Yeah, they got some non-roster guys, but if it's not Bob, they don't re-sign Bob or Tarasov. They're out hunting. They're going to be out hunting. They may have to score 8 goals a game just to win games if they can't find some solid backstops there. But we'll see. So great weekend for the Carolina Hurricanes and their fans this weekend, and Florida is coming for Carolina. I can only imagine, though, what that trade package would have been like if Carolina was really, really in the mix for Brady Tkachuk.
There was due diligence, and before we wrap this segment, I do want to mention that on 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet,
yep,
they actually mentioned what the rumored what the package would have been when Carolina was trying to trade for Matthew Tkachuk from Calgary a few years ago, and it was apparently it was Marty Necas, rights to Alexander Nikishin. 1 more year of the contract of Jake Gardner, who I don't think was playing at that point. I think he still had the back injury. And then like 1 or 2 first-round picks. If you were Brad Treliving, who was Calgary's GM at the time, do you wish you had taken that instead of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar? I think you probably do.
Yeah. Well, strange how things work out. How it works out. Stanley Cup's here in North Carolina.
I'm Max Goren with 3 things you need to know right now from 99.9 The Fan. UNC baseball defeated Oklahoma 6-2 in Game 2 of the College World Series Finals in Omaha yesterday, setting up a winner-take-all Game 3 for the national title. Coverage of tonight's do-or-die championship game can be heard right here on 99.9 The Fan. First pitch is scheduled for 7 p.m. The Carolina Hurricanes brought an estimated 180,000 people to downtown Raleigh for their Stanley Cup celebration on Saturday and took the opportunity to announce some business. GM Eric Tulsky signed Nick Delorier to a 2-year contract extension with an average annual value of $875,000. Delorier was acquired at the trade deadline this past March. A big trade broke in the NHL's Eastern Conference yesterday, with the Florida Panthers acquiring Brady Tkachuk from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for 3 first-round draft picks and 1 second-round pick. The trade unites Brady with his brother Matthew in Florida, where the Olympic gold medalists will play together in the NHL for the first time. For all the latest news on your favorite teams, download the 99.9 The Fan app or visit 999thefan.com.
Wyndham Clark. It's been quite the year for him when it comes to U.S. Opens. Winning yesterday, shooting a 3 over 73. He had a 5-stroke lead going into that final round. Held on for all of us degenerates who bet on him to win outright on some minus money. It was house money, but, we still made a few bucks on it. And the graduate at the University, did he graduate at the University of Oregon? I don't know. He played golf at the University of Oregon, one of the finest institutions on the planet when it comes to higher education. But he took some abuse out there, like not good-natured waste management open Phoenix, Arizona abuse where, there's cheers and jeers on the 16th hole there, and it comes on other holes, but mainly it's 16 where, there's 5 levels of people up on either side, and they're watching you shank shots into the whatever, and hole-in-ones come with beer showers and beer cans and things like that. Not like that. They actually had to escort people off Shinnecock. Like, of all places, they had to bring security in to escort people off because it wasn't even good-natured ribbing. It was actual full heckling.
Yeah.
This was Happy Gilmore, Shooter McGavin type stuff.
Yeah, they were actively rooting against Wyndham Clark. And look, you don't have to like every golfer, or you don't have to root for every golfer, but it was not a great week for the crowds at Shinnecock up there in New York, and maybe they need to have a little bit of a reprieve from hosting events in the New York area with the way the crowd kind of was reacting to the European players during the Ryder Cup. That was last year, right? 2025.
Yep. Yeah.
And now this. It was a weird scene too on Saturday. They had the leaders tee off at like 3:45 in the afternoon.
It was late too.
And the last train apparently back towards the city, because Shinnecock is out, in the Hamptons on Long Island.
They built a train station across from the golf course.
But the last train's at like 6 o'clock, and the leaders didn't get to 18 green until like 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. It was an eerie, like empty scene for a major championship for the leaders coming in on Saturday. Yesterday, obviously more people there, but again, they were kind of not on the best behavior in terms of a golf crowd. Again, mostly rooting against Wyndham. I don't know how much of that is they just didn't really like him versus they didn't like somebody running away with a major championship like he kind of was. But nobody could really make a move other than Sam Burns put a little pressure on him shooting 3 under yesterday.
Yeah, Tom Kim tried.
Tom Kim was in it for a minute, but just couldn't quite get the putts to fall late. Scotty Scheffler hit a number of decent shots, but again, the putter just not working for him. It's kind of back to the same old for Scotty, where it's just the putts won't fall, even though the ball striking is largely quite good. But Wyndham Clark earned it. He earned it with that, 64 that he shot in the first round, and then just did enough treading water to hold on and get his second U.S. Open in 3 years or 4 tournaments, I guess.
2023 in LA.
Since LACC, which, again, say what you will about that one. Not a great U.S. Open course, in my opinion. And honestly, Shinnecock, it's a tough test, but I don't know. Like Shinnecock and Oakmont back-to-back, to me, it's very similar. There's no trees out there. It's got this reputation for just being this real tough U.S. Open track. But to me, some of the holes kind of end up blending together, and I don't know.
Yeah, they are kind of. It's not real like, oh yeah, that's a signature hole.
Exactly. I don't know if it's that terribly interesting.
Look,
obviously,
giant bleachers.
You want it to be a tough test for the U.S. Open, but I don't know. They can go away from these I don't want to loop Beth Page in, but at least for the terms of these northeastern kind of New York crowds, like maybe they do need a little bit of a break from that. I doubt we'll see any kind of behavior like that when they go over to the Open across the pond in a month. But credit to Wyndham Clark. I mean, to overcome all of that, hold on with all these chasers, including world number 1, kind of breathing down your neck. Not quite breathing down your neck, but a couple shots behind you.
Now listen, he was playing right next to him, right?
Yeah, playing in the same group as
group.
the best golfer in the world, and to be able to hold on and get your second U.S. Open in 4 years. Very good credit to him, and it took a lot of mental fortitude to be able to handle that.
He knocked it out. He did talk about that preparation. Considering what happened at last year's U.S. Open, Mitch may have played a role into it where he destroyed a couple of lockers and he had to go deal with anger management. But he's a different guy. He says he's a different guy, and he talked about that following the round.
I was kind of making jokes about it with Dave, where if we heard someone cheer for me, I go, oh, there's one person that likes me, So we would kind of make jokes and make it maybe a little lighthearted. But it's tough, man. I've played now a President's Cup and a Ryder Cup on foreign soil, and it kind of had that atmosphere a little bit. I also got good prep last week in Canada. They were pretty harsh on me the last day. And so I think that all of that combined kind of led to this moment where, all right, I've been in this position. It sucks being the underdog or getting rooted against, but I could pull through, and there's nothing like winning kind of an away game, if you will.
I was still jealous. I mean, incredibly jealous for those who got to go. And then towards the end when both Clark and Scheffler were kind of a little bit wild with their tee shots, and one of them, I remember hearing the call. He's like, oh, that's off into the tall fescue. And I turned to my father. We were watching the Open together, and I was like, man, I would kill for some tall fescue on my lawn right now. My lawn looks terrible with this drought. I would take any fescue. I'm like, have you seen my lawn these days? Oh, my goodness. Not green. Let's put it that way. Not green. Next year, they're going to Pebble Beach. We're going to Pebble next year.
Yeah, that is quite a disparity. If you're not into golf, these two courses could not be any more different. I think Shinnecock, again, kind of, it seems a little bit more flat, a little bit more open. You don't see many trees on that property. And then Pebble Beach, they have a tree smack dab in the middle of the 18th fairway. It's right across, right along the Pacific Ocean there. The wind will be a factor like it was this week as well, but this time it'll be coming in off the water. And there's a nice little variety. There's a lot of quote-unquote, I would say, signature holes at Pebble Beach.
No doubt.
The par 3 on 7, 18, the finishing par 5. It's not quite as much of what you would consider maybe like a traditional U.S. Open course. They have had it there before, but it's not known for being one of those grinded-out tests. But we'll probably see some lower scores. And I think we'll probably see a tighter leaderboard in that U.S. Open next year at Pebble.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful scenery there in the central coast of California, Monterey and Seaside and Carmel. So there you go, Wyndham Clark, U.S. Open winner, Father's Day gift, and Scheffler just has to take that check for tie for fourth place, I think is what it was. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll just, next year. It's always next year.